We are in Madhya Lila chapter 8, talks between the Lord and Ramananda Roy. Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita Ki Jai, Srila Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai, Srila Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai, Srila Gurudev Ki Jai, Sri Guru Gauranga Sundar Radha Giridhar Yu Ki Jai. So we are going to continue with this important conversation between Ramananda Roy and Mahaprabhu. And Mahaprabhu is extracting from Ramananda Prabhu the highest conception of his inner purpose of his descent in the earth. When he came to deliver all the conditioned souls, but also he came to taste the love that Srimati Radharani experienced for him, the highest truth, and to extract from him that. So I'm going to just read because this is quite deep. And so maybe we can wait for Madhusudana Maharaj when he's coming tomorrow. He can explain more these profound teachings properly. So I don't want to make any error in this. So let me just read through. So here we are in text 68. Prabhu kohe, eho haya age kaha ara. Raya kohe, prema bhakti sarva sadhya sara. At this point, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, "This is all right, but still you can speak more on the subject." Ramananda Roy replied, "Ecstatic love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the essence of all perfection." Purport. In this connection, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in his Amrita Pravaha Bhasya, says that after hearing Ramananda Roy, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "Eho haya age kaha ara." This means that this is the process accepted in devotional service, but there is something more than this. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu requested him to explain what was beyond. Simply executing the duties of all varnas and ashrams is not as good as offering all the results of one's activities to the Lord. When one gives up all fruitive activity and fully surrenders to the Lord, he attains Swadharma Tyaga, wherein he abandons the social order and takes to the renounced order. That is certainly better. However, better than the renounced order is cultivation of knowledge mixed with devotional service. Yet all these activities are external to the activities of the spiritual world. There is no touch of pure devotional service in them. Pure devotional service cannot be attained by empiric philosophy, nor can perfection be attained simply by good association. Devotional service by self-realization is a different subject matter. It is untouched by fruitive activity, for one surrenders the result of activities to the Lord. Abandons prescribed duties and accepts the renounced order of life. Such devotional service is situated on a higher platform than that of empiric philosophical speculation with a mix of bhakti. This is verified by Srila Rupa Goswami in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.1.11. This is a very important verse here. Anyavilas sita sunyam yana karmadi anapritam anukuljana krishnanu silanam bhaktir uttama. One should render transcendental loving service to the Supreme Lord Krishna favorably and without desire for material profit or gain through fruitive activities or philosophical speculation. This is called pure devotional service. Devotional activities, however, sometimes appear to be impure in the neophyte stage, but in the mature stage, they are completely pure from material activity. Therefore, Ramananda Roy replied after hearing the last statement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Prema Bhakti Sarva Sadhya Sara. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually accepted this verse, Jnane Prayasam, as the basic principle of perfection. One has to practice this principle in order to make further progress. When further progress is actually made, one comes to the platform of ecstatic loving service to the Lord. This first stage is technically called sadhana bhakti, or devotional service in practice. The result of sadhana bhakti must be ecstatic love, attachment for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which is also called prema bhakti. In the neophyte stage, sadhana bhakti includes faith, association with devotees, and practicing devotional service. Thus, one is free from all unwanted things. One then becomes fixed in devotional service and increases his desires to act in devotional service. Thus, one becomes attached to the Lord and his devotees. And then Ramananda Roy is going to quote another verse. Nano pachara krita pujanam arta bando prem naiva bhakta hridayam sukha vidrutam syat javat sud asti jatare jarata pipasa tavat sukhaya bhavato nanu bhaksya peye. Ramananda Roy continued, as long as there is hunger and thirst, eating and drinking make one feel very happy. When the Lord is worshipped with pure love, transcendental bliss is awakened in the heart of the devotee. Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavita Mati Kriyatam Yadi Kutopi Labyate Tatra Laulyam Api Mulyam Ekalam Janmakoti Sukritar Na Labyate. Pure devotional service in Krishna consciousness cannot be had even by pious activities in hundreds and thousands of lives. It can be attained only by paying one price, that is, intense greed to obtain it. If it is available somewhere, one must purchase it without delay. So the Lord only wants our hankering for it. And then all the facility for practicing, for serving, it will come. Laulyam, right? Laulyam, hankering, intense greed to obtain it. Purport. The previous two verses are included in the Padivali, 13 and 14, by Srila Rupa Goswami. Verse 69 refers to devotional service in faith, and verse 70 refers to devotional service rendered out of intense greed. The first is devotional service rendered in accordance to the regulative principles, and the second refers to spontaneous loving service to the Lord without extraneous endeavor. Henceforward, the basic principle underlying the talks between Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Roy will be spontaneous loving service to the Lord. The regulative principles, according to the injunctions of the Shastras, are necessary insofar as one's original dormant Krishna consciousness is not spontaneously awakened. An example of a spontaneous action is the flowing of rivers into the ocean. Nothing can stop this flow of water. Similarly, when one's dormant Krishna consciousness is awakened, it spontaneously flows to the lotus feet of Krishna without impediment. Whatever will be spoken henceforth by Ramananda Roy, based on spontaneous love, will be agreeable to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and the Lord will ask him more and more about this subject. So from now on, it's going to talk about spontaneous love. Prabhu kohe, eho haya age kaha ara, raya kohe, dasya prema, sarva sadhya sara. Hearing up to the point of spontaneous love, the Lord said, "This is all right, but if you know more, please tell me." In reply, Ramananda Roy said, Spontaneous loving service in servitude, as exchanged by master and servant, is the highest perfection. Purport: spontaneous loving service to the Lord is called devotional service, with an intimate attachment between the servitor and the served. This intimacy is called mamata, between the servitor and the served. There is a feeling of oneness. This mamata begins with dasya prema, service rendered to the master by the servant. Unless there is such a relationship, the loving affairs between the Lord and his devotee are not actually fixed. When the devotee feels, the Lord is my master, and renders service unto him, Krishna consciousness is awakened. This fixed consciousness is on a higher platform than simply cognizance. This fixed consciousness is on a higher platform than simply cognizance of love of Godhead. Jannama Sruti Matrena Puman Bhavati Nirmala Tasya Tirtha Pada Kimva Dasanam Avasisyate. A man becomes purified simply by hearing the holy name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose lotus feet create the holy places of pilgrimage. Therefore, what remains to be attained by those who have become his servants? I'm going to repeat it again. A man becomes purified simply by hearing the holy names of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose lotus feet create the holy places of pilgrimage. Therefore, what remains to be attained by those who have become his servants? This is a quotation from Srimad Bhagavatam 9.5.16, and in an admission by the great sage Durvasa Muni. Durvasa Muni, a chaste Brahmana and great yogi, used to hate Maharaj Ambarisha. When he decided to chastise Maharaj Ambarisha through his yogic powers, he was chased by the Sudarshan Chakra of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When things were settled, he said, when the holy name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is heard by any person, that person is immediately sanctified. The Supreme Lord is master. Can you close that door, please? The Supreme Lord is master of the devotees, and the devotees under his shelter naturally come to own his opulences. The Supreme Lord is master of the devotees, and the devotees under his shelter naturally come to own his opulences. Jai Srila Gurudev ki jai. Jai Srila Gurudev. Shri Guru Varanga Sundar Radha Giridhari ki jai. Bhavantam evanucharan nirantara prasanta nishesha mano ratantara kadaham aikantika nitya kinkara praharsajishami sanata jivitam. By serving you constantly, one is free from all material desires and is completely pacified. When shall we engage as your permanent eternal servants and always feel joyful to have such a perfect master? This is a statement made by great saintly devotee Yamunacharya in his Stotra Ratna. Prabhu coge eho haya kichu age ara. Raya coge sakya prema sarva sadhya ara. So now Ramananda Roy is explaining all the different types of rasas, service to the Lord in different rasas, right? Now he's playing Dasya rasa. Now he's going to explain the next ones. Hearing this from Ramananda Roy, the Lord again requested him to go a step further. In reply, Ramananda Roy said, loving service to Krishna rendered in fraternity is the highest perfection. Purport: as long as loving service is rendered to the Lord in the master-servant relationship, there is some fear, for the servant is always afraid of the master, despite the intimacy of self-interest. In this stage, the servant is always afraid of the master and respectful of him. When the devotee is further advanced, he has nothing to fear. He considers the Lord and himself on an equal level. At such a time, the devotee is fully convinced that Lord Krishna is a friend and cannot at all be dissatisfied if the devotee lives with him on an equal level. This understanding is called Vishramba, that is, devoid of a respectful attitude. When this attitude is chosen, it becomes Sakya Prema, or love of Godhead in friendship. On this stage, there is developed consciousness of equality between the Lord and the devotee. Idham Satam Brahma Sukanu Bhutya Dasyam Gatanam Paradaivatena Majashritanam Nara Darakena Sardam Vijakru Vijarup Krita Punja Punja. Those who are engaged in self-realization, appreciating the Brahman effulgence of the Lord, and those engaged in devotional service, accepting the Supreme Personality of Godhead as master, as well as those who are under the clutches of Maya, thinking the Lord an ordinary person, cannot understand that certain exalted personalities, after accumulating volumes of pious activities, are now playing with the Lord in friendship as cowherd boys. Purport: this is a statement made by Sukadev Goswami in the Bhagavatam 10.12.11, who appreciates the good fortune of the cowherd boys who played with Krishna and ate with him on the banks of the Yamuna. Sorry, this is a statement by Sukadev Goswami, who appreciated the good fortune of the cowherd boys who played with Krishna and ate with him on the banks of the Yamuna. Prabhu coge, Eho Utama Age Kaha Ara. Raya coge, Vatsalya Prema, Sarva Sadhya Sara. The Lord said, this statement is very good, but please proceed even further. Ramananda Roy then replied, loving service to the Lord in the parental relationship is the highest perfectional stage. Purport: the stage of loving service to the Lord in parental affection is an advanced stage of love in fraternity. In the fraternal relationship, there is a sense of equality, but when that sense of equality is advanced in affection, one attains the platform of parental love. In this connection, the following verse is cited from Srimad Bhagavatam, wherein Sukadev Goswami voices his appreciation of Nanda Maharaj's and Mother Yasoda's intense love for Krishna. Nanda Kim Akarod Brahman Shreya Evalan Mahodajam Yasoda Va Mahabhaga Papo Yasya Stanam Hari. Ramananda Roy continue, O Brahmana, what pious activities did Nanda Maharaj perform by which he received the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, as his son? And what pious activities did Mother Yasoda perform that made the absolute Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, call her mother and suck her breast? So this is a quotation from the Bhagavatam by Sukadev Goswami. Nemam virincho na babo na srir api anga samsraya prasadam levire gopi yatat prapa vimuktidat. The favor Mother Yasoda obtained from Sri Krishna, the bestower of liberation, was never obtained even by Lord Brahma or Lord Shiva, not even by the goddess of fortune, who always remained on the chest of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu. Purport: this is a statement of Srimad Bhagavatam 10.9.20. Krishna agreed to be bound by Mother Yasoda after she has given up trying to bind him with ropes. This is another appreciation made by Sukadev Goswami, in his narration of the pastimes of Krishna before Maharaj Parikshit. Prabhu coge, Eho Utama Age Kaha Ara. Raya coge, Kanta Prema Sarva Sadhya Sara. The Lord said, your statements are certainly getting better and better, one after the other. But surpassing all of them is another transcendental mellow, and you can speak of that as the most sublime. Ramananda Roy then replied, conjugal attachment for Krishna is the topmost position in love of Godhead. Purport. In general, love of Godhead is devoid of the intimacy of ownership. In the case of love in servitude, there is a want of confidence. There is a want of increased affection in the fraternal relationship. But when this affection increases in the paternal relationship, there is nonetheless a want of complete freedom. However, when one becomes a conjugal lover of Krishna, everything lacking in the other relationships is completely manifest. Love of Godhead lacks nothing in the conjugal stage. The summary of this verse is that paternal love of Godhead is certainly higher than fraternal love, and that conjugal love is higher yet. It was when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu requested Ramananda Roy to go further that he came to the point of the conjugal relationship, which is the highest perfectional stage of transcendental love. Nayam Sriyo Nga U Nitanta Rate Prasada Swar Yoshitam Nalina Ganda Rucham Kutonia Rasot Sabe Sya Buya Danda Grihita Kanta Labdasisam Ya Udagad Braja Sundarinam. When Lord Shri Krishna was dancing with the gopis in the Rasa Leela, the gopis were embraced by the arms of the Lord. This transcendental favor was never bestowed upon the goddess of fortune or the other consorts in the spiritual world. Indeed, never was such a thing even imagined by the most beautiful girls in the heavenly planets, whose bodily luster and aroma resemble the lotus flower. And what to speak of worldly women who are very beautiful according to material estimation? Purport. This verse from the Bhagavatam 10.4760 was spoken by Uddhava when he visited Sri Vrindavan to deliver a message from Krishna to the gopis. Uddhava remained in Vrindavan to observe the movements of the gopis there. Uddhava remained in Vrindavan to observe the movements of the gopis there. When he saw the ecstatic love for Krishna in separation manifested by the gopis, he appreciated their supreme love and therefore expressed his feeling in this verse. He admitted that the fortune of the gopis could not be compared even to the fortune of the goddess of fortune, to say nothing of the beautiful girls in the heavenly planets. I'm just going to read one more verse and we stop here. Tasam avirabuj chauri smayamana mukam buja pitambara dara sragvi sakan manmata. Suddenly, due to the gopis' feelings of separation, Lord Krishna appeared among them, dressed in yellow garments and wearing a flower garland. His lotus face was smiling, and he was directly attracting the mind of Cupid. Purport. This verse is from Srimad Bhagavatam 10.32.2. When the rasa dance was going on, Krishna suddenly disappeared, and the gopis became so overwhelmed due to his separation and their intense love for him that Krishna was obliged to appear again. So then he continues quoting different verses, goes on and on, more and more in depth of this highest love for the Lord, which is only found in Madhurya Rasa, right? Jai Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai, and I will let Maharaj continue with that topic. He will be better explain it. He will explain it much more in depth. And we can read a little bit from the Loving Search for the Lost Servant by Srila Bhakti Rakha Srila Deva Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Did you read yesterday from this book? So we were in the chapter called Knowledge-Free Devotion. We were in the section called Back to Godhead, and ended with, we want only beauty and love, no power or knowledge. And then the next section is called Beggars of Love. It may seem that we want power. We sometimes think that we must have everything. We want that controlling capacity. We want that everything will come under our control, that whatever we want should be done. But that is not what we truly want. We don't want power. We don't want controlling capacity. It may seem that we want power, but ultimately power cannot satisfy us. And sometimes we may think that we want to know everything. We may not want to have the power of control over all, but we want to know everything. We don't like to be ignorant. But that is also not the ultimate end, which can fulfill our inner necessity. That is not what we really want. We must become educated about our actual necessity, the inner search of our hearts. If we do that properly, we should find that we are all beggars of love and affection. Adoration is the innermost necessity everywhere, and that can be completely satisfied only in Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan. This conclusion was broadcast by Vedavyas, the compiler of the Vedic scriptures. Even contemporary scholars admit that Vedavyas has disseminated all possible lines of philosophical thoughts in the Vedas, Puranas, Mahabharata, and Vedanta Sutra. And in his last days, in his philosophical maturity, he gave Srimad Bhagavatam, which culminates in the conception of divine love, Krishna Prema. And maybe we can stop there, because that's a good ending. What do we want? Krishna Prema, right?
Yes.
Jai Srila Bhakti Rakha Srila Deva Goswami Maharaj ki Jai, Srila Guru Maharaj ki Jai, Srila Gurudev ki Jai. And actually, tomorrow we have a little announcement. Tomorrow, Srila Bhakti Ranjan Madhusudan Maharaj will be arriving in the evening, and also Kumkum Didi. So please make the most of participating and joining us and take their association. It's a very special time to be with the devotees who are dedicating their lives in the service of Gurudev and the mission. So please come and join us, and it will be wonderful to be in their association. We can learn a lot from them. They are an example of service to our Gurudev. Jai Srila Gurudev ki Jai, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki Jai, Srila Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami Prabhu ki Jai, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Jai. And these are very high topics, which is, we leave it to the senior devotees to comment and explain. We are only just reading. And please forgive our pronunciation. Jai. So you want to sing Hari Haraya Nama Krishna? Can you sing?
Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha.
Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha.
Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha.
Yadavaya Madhavaya Kesavaya Namaha. Gopinatha Madana Mohana Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Chanda Radhara Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Jaya Rupa Sanatana Vatara Gunata Shiva Gopala Vatara
Jai Shaprikarashi Shiguru Goranga Sundarada Giridhara Jiv ki Jai Jai Vishnu Parshal Bhakti Sunna Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai Jai Vishnu Parshal Bhakti Rakshata Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai Shirpanuka Gurvaga ki Jai Namachashila Das Thakur ki Jai Nantapati Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai Jai Tulsi Devi ki Jai Shri Chaitanya Saraswati Acharya Vrinda ki Jai Jai all assembly devotees ki Jai Nam Sankirtan ki Jai Gaura Pramanande Hari Hari Bo Jai